Hi, it's Josh from BrightTALK. I'm here at RSA with Bill Sweeney, the CTO of BAE Systems Americas. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're talking about how to tell the board that your job role has changed.
That's right.
Can you elaborate on that point?
Sure, what we're really talking about is the CISO's job, right? The CISO's job, which has always been traditionally how to keep them out, more of a technology-oriented job, has changed dramatically. In fact, one of the key things is the CISO now has to tell the board what they're responsible for.
So what kind of risks are we talking about?
They're really facing the risks associated with a bunch of key trends. First off is digitization. Everything we do today has been digitized, assets are digital, everything's computer related, and therefore everything is more vulnerable. Second, it's been globalization, right? So even though if I run a small little shop, it's accessible to the 40% of the people worldwide who are on the internet. The impact of data loss or revenue loss as a result of an attack can dramatically impact your firm.
Of course. And can you be more specific on the types of attacks that companies are facing today?
Sure, so for example, just recently, a hospital in Southern California was attacked with ransomware, right? They came in, they got into the systems, they locked up the systems, and they had to pay ransom to get them unlocked. And in fact, that same attack has just been used on a couple of hospitals in Germany. Other companies have been affected by DDoS attacks, where by tying up people's websites, their interface to the world, they've lost revenue. Then of course there's just loss of data, like what happened at the Office of Personnel Management of the federal government, right? There's huge data breaches, and it costs upwards of $150 per record. So when you lose millions of records, it can have a dramatic effect on your bottom line. And worse for companies, every one of those records can lead to fraud losses for your clients, right? And therefore you have yet another secondary risk.
Sure. And what about the other ways that the CISO's role has changed?
The CISO's role really has become much more about being proactive rather than reactive, right? It's no more about keeping people out, it's about protecting your assets. And as a result, it involves much more thinking through the whole threat profile. It's why you're seeing a lot of CISOs who are coming out of the government world, people who are coming out of and looking at how do you run an intelligence operation? How do I get ahead of the attackers? How do I figure out who would be interested in attacking me, how they might attack me, and be prepared for when they do attack me?
Sure. And on that point, what do you think the impact of threat intelligence has been for the industry?
Well, I think threat intelligence has become one of the big key weapons in fighting cybercrime, right? And threat intelligence companies have become much more aware of the value of threat intelligence. They've become more aware of that they want to share data, because if you get attacked, I'd like to know how, right? The governments have reacted by changing laws that prohibited sharing of data. And so the value of threat intelligence can't be. But the problem is, threat intelligence itself, there's so much out there because there's so many attacks that people are complaining about threat intelligence overload.
Yeah. And are the companies actually sharing the data?
Yes, in fact, companies are sharing data in different ways. Some companies do it on a peer-to-peer basis, right? They work together with their people in their same industry. Others are doing it on a consortium basis, where they share data like Canadix in Canada, where the insurance industry shares all their data to help prevent industry-wide losses. And of course, the federal government has just changed the laws to make it easier for us to share data with the law enforcement.
And are there any other kind of specific ways that the role of the CISO is changing in today's world?
Yeah, I think the CISO, where it used to have to build barriers, the pace of change has happened, right? Attacks come and go much more frequently. CISOs have to be more adaptive, they have to be more agile in thinking about how they're going to be attacked. So they no longer have the luxury of sitting back and planning, they have to be highly reactive.
And kind of as a final point, if you've just been made a CISO or your job role has changed, what advice would you have to give to CISOs out there in the industry?
Well, I think CISOs really have to recognize themselves that they are now at a senior level and they have allies on the board, right? If they talk to the chief risk officer, right, the chief risk officer is going to help them understand how to articulate the benefits of cybersecurity. If they talk to the chief financial officer, he's going to really appreciate reducing losses, right? And if he talks to the CEO, he really should be talking about job protection, because CEOs lose their jobs now because of cyber attacks.
Bill, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, thanks for having me.